Welcome to the Spirit Rock Music YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about Bob Dylan's Love in Vain. Obviously a love song, and I really find love songs interesting from a spiritual perspective. Love songs can, or some love songs at least, can be understood at various levels. Some love songs can be understood in terms of erotic references. We can think of the longing for a companion or a soulmate, up to inner processes of soul and spirit, where worldly love is merely an analogy. The song Love in Vain was recorded in 1978. It was released on the album Street Legal, which was recorded in a very short space of a few days between tours in Japan and Europe, and at the time it received quite mixed criticism. The lyrics contain anxious questions. Does my partner really love me from the bottom of her or his heart? Does our relationship have a future? Is it worth getting more involved with each other? And the voice of experience tells us, for good reasons, that there might be disappointment, so it warns us. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this situation, to this state of emotions that people experience. Let's see if it also makes sense to look at the lyrics from a spiritual perspective and see what we can make of them. The speaker in the song could be the voice from within. The Buddhists might call it the jewel in the lotus flower. We might call it the divine spark, or the rose of the heart of the rosicrucians. And this voice from within asks the person who carries her around, are you the one who will help me to return to my true home? And the listener, the human being, is aware of this voice from within. He can hear it, so it means he is a seeker. He has matured, personally, most likely, but also from previous incarnations. There's a wealth of experience in his immortal system that he can draw from. I believe that a lot of people have such sensitivity, that they are aware of the voice from within. However, it's not enough to just be aware of this voice. It's not enough to listen to it. It is necessary to make room for it in your own life. It's necessary to change priorities and to follow her impulses, to put them into practice consistently, and to regard them as more valuable than any other goals in life. On the one hand, the voice from within is immortal, but on the other hand, it is bound to a mortal human being. It needs our help. And this voice from within has been connected to other people before, previous incarnations. And they might have heard it, but no one has adhered to her calling far enough so that this voice from within could return to her true home. So she had to postpone her hopes from incarnation to incarnation. And now she asks again to the human being that is currently incarnated, are you earnest about the path? Can I count on you? Or is your love in vain? Have you realized that there's just one exit from the world of opposites and suffering? Quote from the lyrics, do you need me half as bad as you say, or are you just feeling guilt? This reminds me of a story of a master and pupil. Master and pupil are swimming in a river, and the master pushes down the pupil underwater and holds him there for a while. And finally he releases, and the pupil comes up gasping for air, and then the master says, if you desire the path, the connection to your divine soul, with every aspect of your being, just as much as you require the air to breathe just now, then your longing is pure and strong enough. One aspect is also that spiritual growth, or part of spiritual growth, happens outside the sight of the ego and the rational mind. It's a very human ambition to try to understand everything that's happening and also to control it, if possible. However, the spiritual path of purifying one's soul takes place largely outside the reach of the ego and also outside the reach of the rational mind. So in the song, there is talk of solitude and darkness of the immortal spark. The seeker has to accept being powerless. Helping the soul means reaching a state of inner calmness, of peacefulness, and that helps this immortal spark grow, because the human in such a state doesn't disturb its growth. So our task is to wait faithfully until we understand more of the impulses from the soul. However, inner calmness does not necessarily mean inactivity. A seeker or a person on the path can play quite an active role in the world. However, it is necessary to let go of emotions, to let go of fear and hope, fights and arguments and personal ambitions. So really we need to let go of anything that binds us to the world more than necessary. And a seeker who reaches this state will stop striving for fulfillment where it cannot be found. The third verse relates to maturity. Our physical world is a great place because it offers such vast opportunities for an abundance of experiences. But a decisive step in the spiritual development is to realize that nothing can satisfy the longing of the soul, of the spirit soul. So we could understand the third verse of this song, Love in Vain, as the personality's answer to the calling of the soul. So the person reflects, what am I really seeking? Am I prepared to follow this voice from within into uncharted territory? And reflecting his or her experiences means getting aware of the opposite sides of happiness and sadness, having experienced wealth, and realizing that it's not worth striving for something that is sure to perish again. So the seeker comes to the conclusion that the meaning of life must be at a different level. There must be something lasting, something immortal, which is therefore also untouchable for human hands. The song, Love in Vain, was written just before Dylan's official conversion to Christianity. However, quotes from the Bible and references to the Bible have for a long time played a role in folk music. They were a traditional element of folk music. So this expression, willing to risk it all, or is your love in vain, might remind us of Jesus and the rich young man. So the rich young man was not prepared to give up everything unconditionally and follow Jesus. Now we might ask ourselves, what field of life the voice from within testifies to? There are references in the song to cooking and sewing and to making flowers grow. One aspect of this could be that a seeker needs to realize the narrow limits of his own being. And this is a very humbling experience. But this experience helps to let go of one's own ambitions. We could ask if Dylan is mocking feminism with these references to cooking and sewing. Maybe another point of view is we can distinguish between activities that we can control, for example cooking or sewing, and other activities that we cannot control, for example making flowers grow. We may be gardeners, but we cannot master the energy that lets the seed unfold. So all we can do is to prepare conditions, and then the life-spending energies can act under these conditions. The seed, the immortal spark, needs nourishment, and this nourishment is an unearthly etheric energy from the primordial field of life. We can say that this energy is present everywhere, but there is a restriction for our immortal spark being nourished by it, and that is, it can only be nourished through a purified heart. Sewing could relate to the weaving of the soul garment. There's another great song that testifies to that, that's Scarborough Fair, that was popularized by Simon and Garfunkel, but it's a very old traditional English song. And we can also see a reference to the soul garment in Harry Styles' Sign of the Times, when he asks, "Are you wearing your best clothes?" Finally, Love in Vain, like most Dylan songs, really has been covered a lot, and I'd like to finish off with a hint to one of my favorites, one of my favorite versions of the song. It's by Polish artists Stanisław Sojka and Janusz Iwański, who is known as Janina. So Sojka and Janina, an English language version of Love in Vain that I really like. Well, so much for today. All the best for your spiritual path, and hope to see you soon.